Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future expansion. Today, we're excited to have Scott Anderson, the founder of burnoutbreakthrough.com, joining us. Scott will be sharing more about his founding story and giving us a glimpse into plans for future growth. So let's jump straight in. Scott, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you, Olivia. It's great to be here.
It's an honor and a pleasure having you. So let's start at the beginning. Take us back. So what specific problem inspires you to start burnoutbreakthrough.com?
Well, so I've launched 10 companies so far, 2 nonprofits and 8 for-profits, and sold them or otherwise spun them off. And with the exception of Burnout Breakthrough, and as I like to say, I have the scars to prove it, including a lot of experience with burnout. And my coaching practice called Double Dare is mainly devoted to helping entrepreneurs on a one-on-one basis build, launch, and scale companies. And really my working life has been battling my own burnout as well as the burnout of my clients. It seems to be an inevitable part of trying to grow and scale anything. We go through these cycles of burnout.
Yeah, 100%. And as you touched on there, burnout is a big part in most people's lives. And I feel like something that's not talked about enough or not touched on enough to help get through. So you did mention there your previous background in entrepreneurial, going through, and then your struggles with burnout itself. Walk us through a little bit. So how did those experiences influence your approach?
Sure. I suppose with each company I launched, I learned at least what not to do. But the part that I really never considered until I owned a advertising and branding company with 3 really wonderful partners that I ran for 25 years. And the part of founding companies and scaling companies that I didn't really consider is how to take care of myself. And like a lot of my clients, one day I woke up exhausted. I expected to wake up refreshed, but I woke up exhausted. And you may be too young to know the movie Groundhog's Day, but there's a Bill Murray movie called
I've
Groundhog's
seen
Day
it.
where he wakes up every day. His clock radio alarm goes off with Sonny and Cher one more time at 6:30 a.m. And it's very funny in the movie, but it's not very funny in the living of it. And that's really what I was experiencing. I was waking up and it just seemed like another damn day that was exactly like the day before. And I woke up exhausted. This is a canary in the coal mine, according to the World Health Organization. It's the main symptom that people notice. By the time you notice it, you're well into burnout. But it's the kind of exhaustion where your body, mind, and spirit are completely exhausted. And a good night's sleep doesn't help. A week's vacation even doesn't help. And we've had clients take month-long sabbaticals, even 6-month-long sabbaticals, and it doesn't help. They come back even more burned out than they were before. And that was the situation that I encountered. I woke up one morning thinking, this may be the day that I can't answer the bell, that I won't be able to get out of bed and do what it felt like only I could do. And if I don't do it, then the wheels are going to fall off my life very quickly. So that was sort of the recognition that, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I better do
Yeah.
something about this.
Yeah, burnout is a struggle. And I suppose when you're getting out there and you're pushing through, as you say, it's not just a healthy night's sleep or a week's vacation that can get you there. So someone out there that's looking to help and help other people through that have been through it themselves is a great thing. So like for the listeners out there that maybe not so familiar with you yourself and breakthroughburnout.com, how is it what you sell and who you sell to changed since it started?
I'm also a mental health therapist, and originally I was just trying to solve my own burnout. And so I would cobble together a couple of ideas based on a lot of reading and research. There was surprisingly little in the literature there's a lot of talk about burnout, but not very much about what to do about it. And so I studied the work of researchers, principally a woman named Christina Maslach at University of California, Berkeley. She actually coined the term burnout back in the 70s. And studying her research, I was able to find a couple of things that I cobbled together myself, and I would try them. And I would use them with my therapy clients, or I would offer them to my burned out therapy clients, most of whom were entrepreneurs and founders. And some of them would work and some of them wouldn't. Ultimately, we formed a group therapy group that met weekly to try different techniques. And the Burnout Breakthrough System is the product of 12 years of research, but also trial and error. And we would try things. That would be the homework. Go home and try this. Some of these things wouldn't work. We would delete them from our discussion. And some of them would work, and we would try to improve on those. And so the Burnout Breakthrough System is now a proven system of very practical actions that allows the client to recover quickly and, importantly, to recover permanently from burnout. And by quickly, we're talking about a couple of weeks. The whole process, if you go through the whole program, is 90 days, but most of our clients experience immediate relief.
Awesome. That's amazing to hear. And like drawing from own experiences, and then I suppose everyone's pathway and everyone's even behavior is slightly different. So the fact that you're implementing different changes and you're able to pivot depending on the person and on their situation is incredible. Now, many founders do face a moment where they almost give up. So did you have
Yes.
one, and how did you push through it?
Many. I've had many, and particularly with burnout, because there is that moment of truth that most founders go through, whether they're burned out or not, where they reach this wall and it appears that there's no path forward. That may or may not be a symptom of burnout. Often it is. And I've been there many times where it seems like, unless I get a new client today, unless I make another sale today, and in the case of burnout, unless I can find some hope today, I may not be able to keep doing this. And one of the things about the burnout executives and founders that I've worked with, including me, is that we're incredibly persistent, sometimes to a fault. And we will persist and persist when many of our peers might have given up or pivoted more skillfully. But so it's both a blessing and a curse, this persistence. But what I found is that if there really is hope, and the things that we've put into the Burnout Breakthrough program are the result of 12 years of eating our own cooking, of trial and error, and we've eliminated anything that doesn't work. And we also recognize that people who are burned out are by definition exhausted and frustrated and have already tried everything. So all of our techniques are intentionally small interventions. They're easy to do. Even though meditation, for example, is a wonderful thing, and if all of us did 30 minutes twice a day, it would be a better world. But when you're burned out, most people are not capable of doing that. And so we have a intervention called the R&R technique, which takes 5 seconds to do. And one of the first interventions we ask people to try is this R&R technique. In fact, I can put a link in the liner notes so that if people are interested, they can find out what this is, or they can go to Burnout Breakthrough. But there are a lot of interventions that are very quick and easy to do, and they're intentionally designed for burned out people. We know that if you're burned out, you have very limited capacity. If we asked you to run a marathon today, it would be a giant failure immediately. So instead, we have little tiny interventions that are by design very practical and pragmatic and easy to do.
Yeah, I love that. Small steps at a time to climb the mountain, I think, is what springs to my mind immediately. And I've certainly been in that position where you have to focus on the little things to get yourself through and achieve that overall target. Sounds incredible.
It's very much a sort of a Kaizen approach of finding the smallest intervention that will sneak past your sort of defeated radar, because all the techniques in the world are wonderful, but if you really can't do them or won't do them, then they aren't very useful. So ours are intentionally designed for burned out people who are feeling defeated, maybe in despair, may have lost hope, and on top of all of that, are exhausted.
Yeah, and all combined together, you just need that little bit of an edge sometimes to help you climb over that little wall. So completely relatable. Now, I do want to get into the nuts and bolts side of things just for a little bit, and then we can draw ourselves back. So walk us through how your business generates revenue today, and what is your core offer and pricing model?
Sure. We have a menu that ranges from the book itself, which is called, the book that describes the entire system is called You're Not Toast, and that publishes in a couple of weeks' time, and it'll be available in Kindle or Amazon, or you can go to Burnout Breakthrough and get it.
Awesome.
And that's, I think, $6 or $7 maybe With tariffs, I can't, and I apologize in advance. I have no idea what's going to happen, Olivia, with tariffs, but maybe it's a $6 or $7 book. And we have a number of mini interventions or mini products that people can try, remedies, let's say, that range from just a few dollars for a variety. For example, one of the most important trainings in the Burnout Breakthrough program is to learn how to say no. One of the biggest attributes and one of the most common characteristics of burnout people, in addition to perfectionism, is the inability to say no. And it serves us when we're younger and early in our careers to try to do things perfectly and to never say no and to take on more and more. But it doesn't scale. And as a founder, you will burn out. It's almost inevitable. But it begs the question, yeah, but how do I say no? It's a good theory. I understand what you mean when you say that, but how do you actually do that? One of the products at Burnout Breakthrough is a complete training for, I don't know, maybe $99 in how to say no. I think the title is How to Be Assertive Without Being an Ass, whatever. And because it's that kind of practical training that people need. Everybody understands I've got to stop saying no, but how do I actually do that and do that in a way that doesn't cripple my business or cripple my career? Then we have all of the online training. We have a complete audio, video, interactive online training system in the Burnout Breakthrough System. And folks subscribe to that it's a 90-day program. And included in that is individual coaching and a group mastermind that meets on Zoom twice a week. One of the things we found is that community is really important. One of the main characteristics or symptoms of burnout is to feel isolated and alone. That's why my therapy practice is called Lonely at the Top, because that's really what it's like. Part of it is because you are alone as a founder, but part of it is that one of the symptoms of burnout is to feel as though you're the only person who understands what's going on, and there's no one to talk to, and you couldn't explain it anyway. So we found that having this mastermind is really important, not only to see that you're not alone, but also to see that by the progress of peers, people who are doing what you're doing, founding businesses and leading ventures, are getting results, are recovering. And the best news of all to me is that not only some people feel if I slow down and if I really dial down my ambition or my passion, then I'll be more successful at work and more successful at home. But they also feel like, but I'm going to really not do as well at work. My venture will suffer as a result. And what we found is that the opposite is true. And a lot of this has to do with scaling ourselves and shedding the 10 million things we think we ought to be accountable for. We have a program called Beyond Burnout for graduates from the Burnout Breakthrough program. And the whole question is, what else is possible? If it's possible to put burnout behind you and actually for your business to thrive, not to suffer, but for your business to, and actually all areas of your life, to thrive in a way you didn't think possible. What else is possible if you can recover from burnout, which absolutely everybody can? So it's this continuum. People can work with me one-on-one if they want to. That's probably the most expensive, bespoke sort of program. And we have a number of people who go through our program, but also coach with me one-on-one every week.
Amazing. And yeah, it sounds accessible to anyone that's at different levels or different stages in their life and they need to just a little bit of help. And I do want to touch on it because you did mention the word community, and that was the first thing that I thought of when you was going through all of that, and the fact that you've got a good community behind you and a good community of people that you can rely on and speak to and trust is a great thing. So you did mention the book as well. So how are you currently acquiring customers, and what channels and methods have you found most effective?
We have we'll be launching Burnout Breakthrough right now today, and it's what is it? April 7th. If you go there today, there is a webinar and then also a way to schedule a call with us if you'd like to, or you can go to fastfixcall.com. But in a day or two, and I don't know when this will air, I think you said a week perhaps, but certainly by the 14th of April, burnoutbreakthrough.com will take you to a very robust site offering all of the programs that I mentioned, including a lot of free programs, not just the fastfixcall.com, which is free, but lots of other services. And then it's, I guess, technically a ascension model that starts with, for example, the book at $6 or $7, and then a series of products and services, and also mastermind groups that ascend from a $7 book up to I guess the online training program is approximately $2,000 for a 90-day program, and one-on-one coaching with me is approximately $7,000. So there's this, technically it's an ascension model. So we'll be doing a lot of, and thank you for this opportunity, we'll be doing a lot of podcast interviews. We'll
Awesome.
remarket those and try to promote your show as much as we can. We'll be running Facebook and Instagram and TikTok advertising to try to support the book as an entry point, which will take you to Burnout Breakthrough. That's where you can buy the book if you want it, either in Audible or Kindle or paperback version.
Amazing. And again, all the different levels and different stages you can take yourself through and be able to connect with you. Now, you're doing the one-on-one coaching yourself. What does the sales process look like? Are you conducting that? Walk me through the initial contact to closed
Sure.
coaching.
Sure. The sort of the gateway is, and all of the online marketing and advertising that we will be doing and all the social media work will be to promote the book, You're Not Toast. And that's the entry point. And the book contains step by step everything we know about recovering from burnout. And you've probably heard this statement before, but one of my mentors always tells me the best way to prove that you can help people is by helping them. And so that's really what we're trying to do at the outset, in part because it's smart marketing and smart branding, but it's also our mission. We really do want to help people and have stumbled into something that really works and works quickly. So we want to prove we can help people by actually helping people. And once you buy the book, we found that some people want additional services and help. The entire solution, though, is included in the book, You're Not Toast. And everything that we know about burnout recovery and all of the techniques and everything we know about it, about the recovery path, is in that book. But again, there are a number of other related, like the How to Say No program. There is a training about relationships. A lot of our clients, when they first come to us, say, it feels as though my choice is to succeed at work or succeed at home. Pick one. I can't have both of those things. So we have a lot of training about relationships for founders and entrepreneurs, how to not to achieve work-life balance. I hate that expression, but how to, first of all, discover what your values really are in both areas. And instead of allowing perfectionism and not being able to say no, to prevent those things from pushing you around and bullying you, instead to really get clear about what do you really care about? What are your values? And that's one of the pillars of our program. So there's a lot of our program has to do with rediscovering values, not so much ethics and morals. We assume everybody is an ethical, moral person, but more in terms of what really matters to you. Because one of the things that happens with burnout is that we tend to push those values across the table in the service of succeeding with our venture. We don't do this knowingly, most of us, but we're wired to achieve and compete and win. And that superpower certainly has a kryptonite side to it, and we have to be very careful. So when our clients say it feels like succeed at work or succeed at home, pick one, our experience is that you absolutely can succeed in both places, but your approach of trying to do everything perfectly and never saying no and not scaling. One of the key trainings is in a process we call Genius Zone. And for founders, the quickest way to hit a sales plateau is to continue to do everything yourself. If, on the other hand, you want to break through the $1 million plateau in revenue, or $5 or $10 or $20 million revenue plateaus, almost always they can be traced back to the founder who is not willing to scale, not willing to let go. Founders typically do 2 or 3 things exceptionally well, but that's it. And the other
100%.
the other 100 things others can do better, faster, and cheaper. So we take people through a Genius Zone time audit process where we actually identify what are the 2 or 3 things that you do each day that'll move either the sales or the profit number farthest and fastest for your business. And it's usually only 2 or 3 things for most entrepreneurs. In most cases, it has to do with being the visionary sort of leader who can see where they're going, to be the leader in terms of setting standards, and typically some role in business development.
Yep.
It's in that category. There are maybe 4 or 5 things. But when we ask people to do this Genius Zone assessment, and we ask them how many hours a week do you spend in your Genius Zone, the answer is often 0 hours or a half an hour. And that's why the business is plateaued and also why you're burning out. when we can get people to claw back 10 hours a week in their genius zone, not only will you break through whatever sales plateau or profit plateau that you've hit, but you'll also begin to recover from burnout. It's a very nice symbiotic relationship. The only way to grow your business is to not burn out. Or to say it another way, the only way to not burn out is by growing your business to what you wanted it to be in the first place. And not just business, but also the rest of your life, whatever that means to you.
100%. And most founders will find that the business kind of leads to their life. So it's important to keep them both within structure and within their ability and what they know and what they can do best. So in terms of burnoutbreakthrough.com, do you see, are there any current bottlenecks or the biggest bottleneck to growth right now?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I think about it all the time. And so we are, and it's an interesting time to ask it and think about it, because the funnel is going to launch in 24 hours or 48 hours. So I don't know for sure. I kind of hope the problem will be, and we've done a lot of planning for this, will be a lot of people requesting information and wanting to speak with our coaches and consultants. That's what fastfixcall.com is all about. And we really want to help as many people as we possibly can. And fortunately, we have a good triage workflow, and we have lots of trained coaches and consultants who have recovered themselves from burnout that are ready to, in fact, dying to begin to take these calls. They're really looking forward to it. They're really excited. But we've tried to anticipate bottlenecks. And at the end is you can't anticipate them all. They often come out of nowhere. They're often not what you expected. So I'm sure that we're going to hit some. But the main thing we wanted to prevent from being a bottleneck is that we want to make sure that people who want help and need help get it right away. A lot of other things can go wrong, but we don't want that to go wrong. So we've probably erred on the side of overcapacity.
Okay, but at least you've got people there, and as you say, chomping at the bit to get started and to get their teeth stuck in and ready to go and help people in terms of, as you say, in the sales side of things, and then moving through to marketing. So what are the top priorities of growth? Where do you see yourself in the next 12 months?
Again, it all comes back to helping people. If we can prove to people that we can help them by helping them, pardon me, that's really the key. And so that's really our whole focus. We want everybody that has anything to do with us to be helped in a material way. And the first sort of several modules in our program, it's a 9-module program. The first 3 are about getting your energy back and getting positivity back. That has to be first. It's pulling down the oxygen mask. The next phase after that is rediscovering your values and creating a new sort of personal GPS, so that instead of allowing perfectionism or fear of the future or whatever bully you into doing things that are bad for you, we want you to have your personal GPS back. And then ultimately, there are some specific techniques that we found that help not only get you out of burnout, but keep you out permanently. And one of the aspects about burnout that not too many people know about right away, but you will do, if you're listening to this and you're burned out, you'll probably recognize yourself when I say that resentment is oddly, or maybe not oddly, but it's one of the most prominent characteristics. There's this feeling that my coworkers don't understand me, my investors don't understand me, even my customers don't understand me, my business partners don't understand me. And there's a resentment about why aren't they working themselves ragged? Why aren't they burned out?
Yeah.
But there's this mindset that, and it's odd for entrepreneurs who take on so much responsibility to almost invisibly slip into a victim mentality. And that's very hard for leaders to hear, but we found it's very true. So the final 3 modules of our 9 that take you into the beyond burnout phase have to do with understanding what these resentments are about, what these negative feelings are about, and to put them behind you. But we found that you really can't escape or recover or break through burnout if you don't also break through these resentments and this sort of victim mentality. So that's the last part of what we ask people to do, because it's the most challenging, but it's also, we feel, the most important.
Yeah, 100%. And as you say, each stage gets trickier and trickier to overcome the further you get through, and the more, hopefully there's not too many people out there that are resonating with that, but I'm sure there is at the same time. Now, just to change things up a little bit and get through it, we're going to go through a bit of a lightning round. So we'll
Let's
start
do
with,
it.
let's do it. So let's go with a hypothetical question first. If you had unlimited resources, what would you implement or change immediately to accelerate the growth within burnoutbreakthrough.com?
Boy, that's a great question. At the moment, what works the best for us is a combination of actually podcasts is just incredibly valuable for us and the repurposing podcast interviews. It does scale one interview at a time, but it does scale. We found that in spite of everything, that online advertising and marketing really does work, but it depends. Again, today it's different and it's really different now with the crazy environment we're in worldwide. But there's in our business, there's more burnout than ever. There's more stress and anxiety than ever, but there's also more skepticism, cynicism, suspiciousness, doubt, mistrust, et cetera, than ever. One of my favorite coaches, an Australian guy named Taki Moore, says that we want to build yachts for our clients because we love to build them. But what our clients need is life rafts, and they will throw money for a life raft. They don't have to buy a yacht, but they have to buy a life raft. So it's important that we know. Another coach I like, Russ Ruffino, says, what is the bleeding neck problem? We really do have to understand right this moment, what will people throw, a problem that people will throw money to solve, and to understand that and be able to articulate that. If we can talk about a problem, if we can articulate a problem better than our clients can, they will assume that we have an answer for it. I think that's a Taki Moore quote, but it's very
Love
true
it.
to really understand the client, to try to use our customers' language, to read their minds, to get in their heads. The highest praise that I've ever received or that we've received as a company is when clients say, "Are you in my head? Are you reading my mind?" And that's the best that we could do. That's what we aspire to.
Yeah, 100%. And it shows all about understanding from their part. And then with understanding, you inevitably have trust. So what is one tool or resource that has been a big game changer in your business?
A resource for me.
Yeah, for you, for burnoutbreakthrough.com.
Again, I want to credit some people that have really helped me on my journey and from whom we have learned so much. Christina Maslach, Dr. Maslach, if you're out there anywhere in the podcast sphere, is an incredibly brilliant woman who really has done all of the most important scientific work on burnout. She created an instrument called the Maslach Burnout Inventory that's still the standard. Our online burnout assessment, and I'll send you a link for the show notes, is an abbreviated form of the Maslach Burnout Inventory. Another guy I always want to give credit to, and you may know this writer, his name is Michael Singer, and he wrote a book called The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment. And Michael Singer is just a brilliant guy, and The Untethered Soul, all of his books, but The Untethered Soul in particular is just incredibly valuable. In fact, our R&R technique was taken from really a sentence that he had in The Untethered Soul, and we have appropriated it and used it for, in this case, for burnout. But yeah, I give a lot of credit to Michael Singer.
Awesome, amazing. So what's the best piece of advice that you've received about scaling a business? I mean, from a
Make
serial
it
business
about
scale up.
them. Make it about them is the best. To really know, to really try to get in their heads, and to, again, as Taki Moore says, it's not about building yachts. That's what we like to do. But what is the life raft that our client desperately needs? So make it about them. One of my business partners in advertising told me that. I think that's really, as good an advice as there is. It's so easy to let our ego and our ambition and what we like to do get in front of what our customers and clients desperately need. And today, especially, there are lots of desperate needs. There's lots of life rafts that people need. And we can really afford to focus on that and make it about them. Not only will we be successful, but we'll hopefully be doing something that matters.
Awesome, amazing. And now, what piece of advice would you give to any founder who's looking to start their journey at the moment?
It's one of those things I think that we forget. One of the best things about founders is we forget how hard it is. We must be amnesiac in some way, because if we remembered, they say this about having babies, that if we remembered everything about it, we'd never do it again. Again, I really think the answer is to get lost in what your customer needs and Just keep trying to come back to that and get out of your head, get out of your head and get into your life, and ideally the life of the people you're trying to help. Not only is that the path to success and scale, but more importantly, it's a path to sanity.
Awesome. I love that completely. And as you said before, the highest form of compliment is to get out of my head, stop reading my mind. So it all
Right?
ties back into one. And that's a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. I want to thank Scott for sharing his incredible journey and insight with us today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future by whatever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their sales and marketing efforts through world-class systems and playbooks. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.